My dad insisted I show up for my perfect brother's wedding, threatening to stop funding my education if I didn't. He was stunned when I let slip that I was earning more than him. My father always saw me as the forgotten child in our family, overshadowed by my brother's glow. He was utterly captivated by my brother. And you know what? He didn't care that I got into a top-tier university. He told me, "Forget it. You're going to the local college, so your brother doesn't feel envious." So, guess what? I played along, acting like everything was fine. I said, "All right, Dad, I'll go to the local college, but only if I can live in the dorms." Truth is, I lied. I made it seem like I was staying in the dorms while secretly attending the prestigious university on a scholarship he didn't know about. But when he finds out, he's going to lose it. What would you do if the people who barely acknowledged you for years suddenly demanded you show up and play the role of a loving family member for a day? That's a tough situation, isn't it? Families can be like that, especially mine. Let me take you back to the start. I'm Jonas, and if it's not obvious yet, my family is deeply dysfunctional. I mean, seriously dysfunctional. Can you even call it a family when the people who brought you into the world ditch you the moment they find a better child? Is that what family is? Instead of going around in circles, let me lay it out plainly. I could have had a happy family if my parents treated both their kids fairly. But no. My parents, Patrick and Marin, were biased jerks who treated me like an afterthought for as long as I can remember, all because my brother Roman was the healthier, more charming kid. Roman was the kind of baby who grabbed everyone's attention instantly, cute, robust, the star of the show. I, on the other hand, was the skinny, plain-looking kid nobody wanted to fuss over. Should that kind of thing make parents favor one child over another? It shouldn't, right? But for my parents, it was a different story. Within a month of Roman's birth, he became their golden boy, the kid everyone adored. He wasn't extraordinary, just better looking, the main character, while I was relegated to the sidelines, a forgotten extra. You can probably guess how miserable my childhood was. My parents barely noticed me, providing only the bare minimum, while my self-absorbed brother soaked up all the praise. Roman grew up spoiled, caring only about himself. Our relationship? Picture this. I was the quiet, reserved kid, and Roman turned into a massive, cruel bully. Can you imagine being tormented by your younger brother? That was my reality. Roman made it his mission to make my life hell, whether by throwing fits that ruined my plans or physically taking things I cherished. Add in parents who clearly favored him, and you can see how awful my childhood was. They were the ones who turned Roman into such a brat. While he was showered with gifts, attention, and applause, I was never indulged. My birthdays were barely acknowledged. My achievements? Never a big deal. My role in the family was essentially to blend into the background. Once, in 3rd grade, I came home with straight A's on my report card. I was so excited, thinking maybe I'd get some recognition. But when I showed it to my mom, she just said, "That's nice," before gushing about a sloppy painting Roman made that had to go on the fridge. Yup, Roman's messy dog drawing took center stage, while my perfect report card was tossed into a drawer with other forgotten junk. That's how it was. I was the discarded report card, while Roman was celebrated for everything. It wasn't just the small stuff. Oh no. Roman got to pick where we went on family vacations, what we had for dinner, even what we watched on TV. Every time I tried to choose something, I was shot down. And Roman? He rubbed it in my face every chance he got. He was the king, and I was just his servant. So you can understand why I wanted to escape that nightmare as soon as possible. And I got the perfect chance. I earned a scholarship to one of the world's top universities, a prestigious school that promised a bright future. Getting that scholarship was a dream come true, but there was a catch. It was states away. And like everything else in my life, my parents wouldn't let me have it. Why? You guessed it. Roman. They insisted I attend the local college because it was a better fit, and they didn't want Roman to feel bad if I went to a fancy school while he didn't. Why couldn't Roman work hard like I did to get what he wanted? But none of that mattered to my parents. They demanded I stay local. Can you see how absurd this was? Deep down, I felt they were trying to keep me from outshining Roman. It was like they saw my potential but chose to suppress it. Supporting me fully might have threatened Roman's status as the golden child. Why else would they push so hard for me to stay local, while Roman, who wasn't nearly as driven, got endless support? It felt like they didn't want me to surpass him. That wasn't part of their plan. But did I give in to their nonsense? No way. I'd already sacrificed so much to deal with their unfair antics. I'd had enough. I told them I'd go to the local college, but only if I could live in the dorms. They agreed, almost too eagerly, thinking they'd won. But had they? Not a chance. I took the scholarship and moved states away, while they thought I was at the local college. The best part? The prestigious university offered the finance degree I wanted in just 2 years, compared to 4 at the local school. Perfect. I'd graduate sooner than they expected. Honestly, it was the best choice I ever made. I escaped the toxic environment my parents created, and this university opened doors to success. Right after graduating, I landed a 6-figure job and have been with the company for a year. Things are looking up. I'm even in line for a promotion. I did it all. The scholarship covered 70% of my fees, and I used the money my dad sent to cover the rest. Now, I'm living a great life. My dad still sends money, thinking I'm at the local college, and I haven't told him to stop. I know it's a bit shady, but I see it as payback for years of neglect. I've kept contact with my family minimal, a few check-in calls, a couple of holiday visits to avoid suspicion. Otherwise, they haven't bothered me much, and I've dodged them by saying I'm busy with school. They don't seem to care anyway. Why would they? They have their golden child. My parents were probably relieved that the kid they barely cared about was out of their lives. I was fine with that setup. It stung sometimes that they didn't notice I'd moved states away, but the relief of being free from their toxicity outweighed the sadness. Truthfully, I missed the idea of a family. Not my dysfunctional one, but the kind that actually cares about you. Even with friends and a good life, I felt something was missing. But until this morning, fixing it seemed impossible. My dad called today, saying Roman was getting married and that I needed to come home a few days early to help with preparations. I was shocked. Was my dad really asking me to come back? I'd waited years for this moment. He said I was part of the family and that he wanted everyone there for Roman's big day. I got emotional. My parents had never treated me like family. They were all about themselves and Roman. But now, my dad was specifically asking me to be there. It felt overwhelming to finally get some recognition. But then I remembered, these were the same people who ignored me my whole life. Even now, they didn't know their eldest son was living states away. Did I really want to go back to them, only to be overlooked again? That's where I'm stuck. I'd love your advice. What would you do in my shoes? I miss the idea of family, and it'd be nice to feel cared about for once. But the thought of returning and getting hurt again scares me. Should I go to my brother's wedding for the sake of family? Or should I stick to my plan to stay far away and protect myself from more pain? Before we dive into that, it's been 2 days, and I've had time to think. In the end, I chose my peace. Some of you might not agree, but I decided not to go to Roman's wedding. Honestly, it feels like the right call. Spoiler alert, my parents haven't changed and never will. Let me pick up where I left off. After some reflection, I texted my dad, saying I couldn't make it. No long excuses, no explanations. I just wasn't going. I expected some pushback, but I didn't expect the manipulation to kick in so fast. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with texts. First, my mom tried to guilt me. She asked if I really wanted to miss Roman's special day, if I wanted to be that brother, and how upset Roman would be if I wasn't there. She said it would mean so much to him if his big brother showed up. Really? She even played the "you only get one family" card. But here's the thing. Roman's big day meant nothing to me. He never cared about any of my milestones, not a single one. And sure, you only get one family, but only if they act like one, right? So I told my mom I wasn't coming. When guilt didn't work, my dad switched to his own weird tactics. He started calm, talking about how families should stick together for big moments like this. When I didn't budge, he got nasty. He called and said if I didn't show up for Roman's wedding, they'd stop paying my tuition. He said they couldn't afford people gossiping about how one of their sons skipped such a big event. It was all about keeping up the image of a perfect family for their friends and neighbors. As always, it was about appearances. Not me, not Roman, but how the family looked to others. That's when I snapped. How selfish can someone be? threatening to cut off my education just to make me attend a wedding. It was ridiculous, especially since I didn't even need their money. I told my dad, "Go ahead, stop paying. I'm not coming, and nothing you say or threaten will change that." I still didn't tell them I'd graduated a year ago and was living states away with a six-figure salary and a life they could never have given me. I didn't want them knowing how well I was doing or where I was. They'd ruin everything. I know I'll have to tell them the truth soon, but for now, I was enjoying myself. My refusal to attend Roman's wedding, despite my dad's threats, sent him into a rage. He ranted about how ungrateful I was, how I'd always been a problem, and how he'd withdraw my name from the local college to teach me a lesson. He said it like it was a massive threat, like pulling me from a school I'd never attended would ruin me. He had no clue the truth was the opposite. I couldn't stop laughing. I could have told him I never went to the local college, but where's the fun in that? So now I'm just waiting for him to try pulling my name from a school I was never enrolled in. I can't wait to see his reaction when he realizes I don't need him or his money. It's going to be a shock. It's only a matter of time before my phone rings with another round of yelling. I'm honestly excited for it. I'll keep you all updated on what happens. Until then, bye for now. Hey, it's Jonas again. I know it's only been a day since my last update, but the drama in my life just keeps escalating. After my last post, I had a feeling my dad would take my refusal to attend Roman's wedding seriously. I was right. It started with a call from him this morning, and he was livid. He demanded to know where I'd been and what I'd been doing with all the money he sent for my tuition. It was like watching a kid throw a fit because he didn't get his way. Apparently, after our last talk, my dad went to the local college to pull my name just to teach me a lesson. He was so sure that cutting off my education would force me to show up for Roman's wedding. He was dead wrong. When he got to the college, he got a massive shock. They had no record of me ever being enrolled. It must have been quite the scene. My dad standing there, trying to cancel a registration for a student who didn't exist. I bet it hit him like a punch to the gut. On our call, his anger over the embarrassment at the college was clear. He wanted answers about where I'd been and what I'd done with his money. The whole thing was so absurd, I couldn't stop laughing. After more yelling from him and some patience on my part, I decided to lay it all out. I told him I'd graduated on a scholarship a year ago and that his money had been very helpful. Then I dropped the bigger bomb. I told him I was now earning a six-figure salary more than he ever did. When he asked if I was joking, I could hear the disbelief in his voice. But he knew it was true. The fact that I wasn't the struggling student he thought I was, but a successful, independent man, must have been hard for him to accept. I was ready for whatever came next. As soon as he processed what I said, he exploded, accusing me of betraying them by keeping them in the dark. He rambled about how much he'd done for me, only to be met with this betrayal. Done for me? Was he talking about how he and my mom ignored me for years to focus on their precious golden child? Then he came up with the most ridiculous demand. The only way he'd forgive me was if I attended Roman's wedding to avoid any scandal or gossip about the family. I couldn't believe it. He was still obsessed with appearances. I don't know why he's suddenly so worried about the family's image. It never bothered him before. I told him I didn't need his forgiveness and had no interest in pretending we were a happy family. He kept pushing, sounding desperate, but I stood firm. I told him there was no way I'd go to the wedding of the guy who made my childhood miserable. More than that, I said I was done with their drama and cutting them off. My dad was stunned, but I wasn't holding back. I'd spent my whole childhood swallowing their nonsense in silence. Not anymore. I told him I didn't want any of them contacting me again, that they could have their golden son's wedding without me while I lived my life. He tried the emotional manipulation again, saying I was his son and needed to be at my brother's wedding. But I was done. I told him they only ever had one son, the one they cared about, and they could keep it that way. I didn't give him a chance to respond. I hung up and blocked his number, and that's where I am now, officially free from my toxic family. It's bittersweet. I never thought things would end like this, but I'm also relieved because it had to happen. Now I can live in peace. If all goes well, maybe I'll start my own family someday. It's been over a month since I cut off contact with my family. I thought I was done with their drama and manipulation, but they clearly couldn't let go so easily. A few days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. It was my mom, crying her eyes out. I'd blocked all their numbers, so I was surprised this got through. I didn't hang up right away because I thought something terrible had happened, but it wasn't that. She started saying how much she missed me and just wanted her son back. She said she didn't care about what I'd done or what my dad had done. It didn't matter. She just wanted me to be part of the family again. I was confused. Where was this energy when I cut them off? They didn't seem to care then. Now my mom wants to fix things? It felt suspicious, so I told her I'd call her back later and hung up. Something didn't sit right, so I called my aunt, my mom's sister, to see if she knew anything. What she told me was wild and confirmed all my suspicions. Apparently, Roman's wedding was a total disaster, a complete mess. His seemingly perfect fiancé turned out to be a con artist. Before the wedding, she convinced Roman, my parents, and a bunch of relatives to invest all their savings in a shady, once-in-a-lifetime deal. Guess what? It was a scam. She took the money and vanished. There was no wedding. She's gone, and so is my family's money. But it gets worse. My aunt also told me my parents were in deeper trouble than I thought. Apparently, my dad caused a scene with an employee and their family, which led to a huge loss for his already struggling business. Then it all clicked. That's why he was so desperate for me to come to the wedding. He wanted to save face by showing off his perfect family values, but of course that backfired. The fiasco with Roman's fiancée just added to the bad press. Basically, they're losing money left and right. To top it off, they used their house as collateral for a loan to save the business, and that failed too. Now they're about to lose their home and have moved into a rundown trailer or tiny apartment because it's all they can afford. It all made sense. My mom didn't call because she missed me or wanted me back. They needed me. They figured out I was doing well and saw me as their safety net. I saw through it all. They didn't care about me when they were busy catering to Roman. But here's the twist. My parents are now fighting with Roman, blaming him for everything. The wedding disaster, the lost money, all of it. It's honestly kind of funny. The golden child they built their lives around has ruined everything. And I'll admit, it felt good to see them finally face the consequences of their choices. But I don't care. I'm staying out of their mess. After my mom's call, I blocked her again. I wasn't going to let her manipulate my emotions. Did that stop them? Nope. They were desperate and wouldn't give up. Eventually, my parents showed up at my house. I don't know how they got my address, probably by pestering some old friends. But it doesn't matter. They stood at my door, preaching about family values and how, as their eldest son, I was their responsibility. And now they were mine. I slammed the door in their faces. They begged, saying they were broke and had spent their last dime flying to see me. Tough luck, but I wasn't helping. It didn't end there. A few days later, Roman showed up practically in tears, begging for help. He said he missed having his big brother around. What big brother? All I remember is him bullying me. He kept pleading, saying Mom and Dad were going to cut him off soon because they blamed him for their mess. It was pointless. Roman got the same treatment as my parents. I slammed the door and warned him that if any of them came back, I'd call the police. I haven't heard from them since, and honestly, I don't care. I'm done with this toxic family. It's a bit sad that things turned out this way. The void they left will always be there, but I'm not taking their nonsense anymore, just for the sake of family.